Greenlight Network presents Football Time.
Hey, and welcome to the Football Time Show. We're here with Achilles Reign, and week 2 we're about to get into with our best bets and predictions as we break down all the games, every one of the games. Achilles, are you ready to get into some NFL action?
I don't know, man. I mean, you had me over here waiting on you for while you made your bets, and I forgot that you make about 100 bets a week. So I probably could have taken a shower and gotten comfortable here.
Yeah, well, I could have taken a shower too, but money needed to be made, and I had to make all those college football bets that on the Wednesday show I let everybody know with Dynamite David. All those bets had to be made, and I must say, the BetMGM interface was driving me insane today. The way they do the top 25 in college football, I couldn't find any of the games. So finally, I just went into the search and searched for each individual team.
Well, I told you earlier, I was trying to make my NFL picks a couple of days ago, and the interface is being so wonky. The UI is just a little off. Not what I remember it being like, but I was able to get him in. That's all that matters.
Yeah, just a hashtag, whatever they changed to, it sucks balls. Go back, please.
Yes.
Nonetheless, I got them in, so we're ready to bet for college football, but we're ready to get into some NFL. Before we get into the games that haven't happened, Thursday night, a game that did happen. Chargers-Chiefs. You knew this game would be close, and I think it sort of played out just how I thought it would. Chargers play well, and Chargers make 2 or 3 mistakes that cost them the game. That's basically the whole story for the Chargers. I don't know. Pretty much these whole 2000s, I think. But certainly, of late, what'd you make of Thursday night's game?
Yeah, listen, I was talking to some coworkers at the other job about this game and this matchup, and it actually played out exactly how I thought it would. For some reason, people still aren't giving the Chargers the love that I think that they've been earning. I know that they're not an elite team, so to speak, but they're good enough. Ever since Justin Herbert came into town, they've gotten really good offensively. They were lacking defense last year. They seem to have gotten better this year. So I knew that it was going to be a tight matchup, but overall, the Chiefs are still kings, and it kind of turned out in their favor at the end because they were losing that game early on.
Yeah. The only thing that sort of angered me was the next couple days. All we had to hear was about how the Chargers were actually the better team. I get that, but, this is basically what the Chargers always do. They tried to do it the week before when they dominated the Raiders, and then the Raiders had the ball to drive down to win the game. So, I don't totally want to hear that the Chargers are the better team. They don't necessarily get the benefit of the doubt like the Chiefs would in a game like that, where if they played better and then threw a pick six, the pick six counts. The Chargers had their own chance for a pick six, and Asante Samuel II dropped the ball. That's sort of how football goes, especially when it's a tight game, first 2 very good teams.
I do got to say, though, I think it's pretty impressive, the improvement that they made from last year to this year, at least defensively. I think that last year the Chiefs would have just run up the score on them to the point where they were getting garbage time stats for the offensive side of the Chargers ball. But I think they're going to be pretty competitive all season long as long as they can stay healthy. But at least, good sign going forward for Charger fans.
Yeah, defensively they look much, much better. We'll see what happens on the offensive side of the ball with Justin Herbert and the, rib cartilage. That's going to be a nuisance all season long. It didn't seem to affect his throwing all that much, but maybe scrambling a little bit out of the pocket, he might have some issues. But nonetheless, let's get to this week's game, and let's start out in the city that never sleeps, New York City, technically New Jersey if we're getting real on things and where the stadium actually lies, but nonetheless, the Carolina Panthers go to the New York Giants. New York Giants 2.5-point favorites here. Pretty difficult game to call here because Carolina played a pretty solid game versus Cleveland. Probably should have won that game. Did not win that game. And the Giants solid would probably be kind to say the kind of game they played versus the Titans, but okay game versus the Titans, but somehow found a way to win. How do you see these two teams? I'd say pretty much on an even level here of mediocrity playing out.
Listen, I would say so. I normally like to look at their previous, 3 or 4 games going into the previous season, but everyone likes to overreact after week 1, and I think us included. We kind of look a little too much into what happened in week 1, but I think both of these teams are pretty close. I do think that the Panthers probably have more talent, more established talent. Their issue has always been health, obviously, with McCaffrey. But if he's a full go, I think that they're a better team than the Giants are at this current moment. Now, I know the Giants, came out on top versus the Tennessee Titans, so it seems like part of that overreaction from last week is going into this line because I don't see how the Giants could be favored in this game. And you know me, I've been a defender of the Giants for several seasons, but I just don't see how they can be favored. I thought that the Panthers made a few mistakes that cost them the game last week versus the Browns. But I think overall they had a pretty solid game. I mean, for week 1 of the NFL, new quarterback and some new players in the system, I thought they did a pretty good job. So I'm trying to wrap my head around how the Giants are favored in this game.
Yeah, the one thing I can only think of is you watched Carolina's defense struggle against the run and Nick Chubb, and maybe with the life that Saquon Barkley showed, they're a little nervous that the Carolina is going to struggle against the run. I want to see a couple more games from Saquon Barkley before I start going, he's all the way back. One game, I'm not ready to make an overreaction. I think defensively, Carolina will be able to score a handful of more points. I would lean Carolina here. I don't have a play overall on the game. I just, I don't think I trusted Carolina enough from what I saw in that Cleveland game that they won't, sort of blow it like they did before. And we both got a little lucky with that game hitting on the, 2 number instead of the 3 number, as we both had plus 2.5. So I was sort of a stay away, game-wise in this one.
I've got a couple plays in this game, and there's a couple that I like. Okay, and I'll tell you which ones I like, and I'll tell you which ones I'm actually going to play. I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to play the Carolina +2 here. Even though I do like the Carolina money line, at that point you're getting a little bit of juice at plus 105. So you're getting, instead of that minus 110, you're getting a little extra juice. And realistically speaking, a 2-point spread here, I mean, it's rare, but I guess it does happen. I also like the under here. I know that both of these teams had some success last week during week 1, offensively scoring the ball, but I think that the tempo slows down a little bit here. I think both these teams are looking to run the ball and establish the run first. And if they can do that, then I think that it'll be a low-scoring affair. But I still think the edge goes to Carolina, in my opinion. A couple other bets that I've got here. I've got Anderson, anytime touchdown at plus 160. He had the most targets last game for Carolina, and he had a touchdown. I like DJ Moore, anytime touchdown at plus 130. But I like the Anderson one just slightly more. I think that the Barkley McCaffrey ones just have very little value. I don't think it's a solid play, even though I think they're going to be heavily featured here. I'm just going to stay away from those. But again, I'm going to take the Carolina +2 and the under 43.5.
Yeah, I got 2 plays, but they're, individual player plays. I got DJ Moore, anytime touchdown. I thought the value of plus 160 was pretty good value there, almost 2-1 for DJ Moore on an anytime touchdown. I watched a lot of the Giants, and I thought that secondary was ripe to be sort of abused. The Titans don't necessarily have the kind of weaponry to abuse that, but I did thought they hit pretty decent plays. So you put Anderson, you put Moore in there, and McCaffrey coming out of the backfield. And I think you're pretty good there. I like DJ Moore plus 160 anytime touchdown. And then I don't know if every book has these, but I found them on DraftKings, is these head-to-head matchups. And this one intrigued me a little bit. Christian McCaffrey versus Darrell Henderson, most rushing yards. Christian McCaffrey was only a 115 favorite. So I'm going to go ahead and take Christian McCaffrey minus 115 over Darrell Henderson for rushing yards this week. That just seems like a a pretty good bet, considering I'm not 100% sure we even know how the carries are going to go with the Rams. So, and nonetheless, I don't know if they can run the ball with that offensive line. So you're giving me, I don't know what carries Henderson's going to get, and I don't know if they can run the ball. So I'll take McCaffrey every time, certainly because I'm assuming he's probably going to get an uptick in carries as well.
Not to mention when he's healthy, he's definitely a more talented back.
Yes. I didn't want to go there. I figured that one was
It's okay.
obvious.
It's all right. Listen, after last week, there's really nothing that can hurt me right now, so we're all good.
Well, you keep that in mind because there might be a lot of these head-to-head bets coming with the likes of Darrell Henderson and Allen Robinson and such. All right, let's move on to our next game. New England Patriots versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers still getting 1.5 points here. 2 straight games where they come in as underdogs, 1 underdogs at home. Is there enough faith in you to grab the Patriots here as a favorite on the road after what you saw last week? Especially since, they say Mac Jones isn't hurt and he's not on the injured list, but he went from back injury to missing, 4 to 6 weeks to all of a sudden playing. That can't be all made up in our heads here.
And I mean, even if it's true that he's not hurt, he played like he was hurt. I mean, he just didn't look good last weekend. Now, granted, it's against the divisional opponent in the Dolphins, but even then, week 1, you expect a lot of, loose play from both sides, both teams facing each other. And I still think that New England didn't show enough offensively for me. So I can't ride the Patriots in this one. I actually have to go with the Steelers, and I know that they lost their star defensive player in Watt when he injured his pec, but I think that this defense is still solid enough that, based off the way that New England played last week, they can cause fits for them. And if that's the case, getting points, I know it's not a lot, but give me the dog, give me Pittsburgh. I'll tell you what I like here. Okay, at Pittsburgh +2 is what I originally got it at. I actually ended up taking Pittsburgh money line, which bumped it up to 110. +110, I think that there's enough value there so that you can take a flyer on it. I considered doing an alternate line of 2.5, but that just boosted up to 125, and I didn't think that there was enough value, so I'd rather just take the money line straight up. I also kind of like the first half for Pittsburgh. It's at half a point. So basically, it's just who's leading at the half. It doesn't matter what it's by. I think Pittsburgh, if they're going to win this game, they're going to have to get up pretty much early on, especially with the fact that they don't have Watt. They're going to have to try and get ahead early and then try and keep their defense within striking range to win the game. A couple other bets that I like here. I like Pats under 20.5 points for the game at -110. Not great value, but if they show up like they did last week, it wasn't very good. So I like that one. And I also like Najee Harris, who didn't play very well last week, but I feel like they're going to try and feature him more. And if the Steelers are going to win this game, they're probably going to have to rely on the running attack, which the Patriots do a pretty good job at stifling. But I do like Najee Harris to score anytime touchdown at +110.
Yeah, I got a couple in here. I found the Steelers at 2.5, so I grabbed that number. So Pittsburgh +2.5. I got 125 on that one, and then Mac Jones interception, still even money. I know Mac Jones started, his career being the safe quarterback without throwing many interceptions, but towards the tail end of last year, and then in week 1, I also had Mac Jones with an interception. And I think that's good value as long as they aren't waiting that and it's still even money. I still think pressure will come from the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've always been able to sort of plug and play outside rushers. Now, not to the level of TJ Watt, but, they have other guys on the outside. You still have Hampton sitting there in the middle, eating up blockers, and you got Minkah Fitzpatrick, in the back, saving things for the secondary. So I look for the Steelers here, getting points at home versus Patriots team. I think they'll cruise. So Steelers plus the 2.5 for me, and Mac Jones with an interception in this game are the two bets straight up. Now I got a couple of stuff involved in parlays and teasers, a couple going your way like rushing stats too. So let's move on to one of the big games in the NFC South: Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans Saints getting 2.5 points here. I guess they saw enough from Tampa Bay last week where they're good enough to make them favorites in New Orleans, though they have not been able to beat New Orleans in, I think it was 3 years. I think Tampa Bay is like 6-0. Or not Tampa Bay, New Orleans is 6-0 versus Tampa Bay. In the regular season, of course, there was the playoff game that, of course, they lost. So, but nonetheless, Saints getting 2.5 points here. What was your thinking here? Are you just thinking Tampa's a little bit better than this New Orleans team, which looked pretty bad for, 3/4 of the game versus Atlanta before, finding a lot of rhythm and going on? Or is New Orleans found that rhythm and is going to continue to dominate Tampa here?
I mean, listen, I hope that they continue with that rhythm because based off of last week, they started off really slow and they started to pick up the pace as the game progressed, and they were able to manage to pull off a comeback win. But I don't know what the line currently sits at. I haven't looked at it since the news came out that Kamara's probably not going to play. But I would assume that would have shifted the line a little bit in favor of Tampa Bay, even though there's already favorites on the road, which gave me a little bit of a pause. I don't really have a play for this matchup. I do have one potential play that I like, and that's Jarvis Landry over 50.5 receiving yards, minus 115. Last week he had the most targets and yards in the entire receiver room. So I think he's got a good shot. It seems like they really like him. And they're obviously going to have to throw the ball, especially going up against a Tom Brady team. You're going to have to stay within range to try and win the game. So if they come out looking like they did in that second half, then I feel like that one's got a good shot of hitting. But otherwise, there's really nothing else that I like in this game.
Yeah, I'm just going to ride the Saints, whatever plus number they get at. I assume it probably jumped to about probably 4 with the news about Kamara. But, that plus number, I'm going to take it just because the Saints have been able to cause distress. I didn't think Tampa Bay's offense looked all that good. Defense is a different story, but once again, we don't know how much of that was the terrible Cowboys as well. So
I think Godwin's not playing in this one, right?
Yeah, Godwin's
I think he's sending this one out.
I mean, I don't look to have Leonard Fournette rush for 150 yards versus this Tampa Bay team. So I'm just curious if they can still get after Brady. Now the question: can they find enough points, especially if Kamara's not going to play on this Tampa Bay Bucs team? But we'll see what it is. So that plus number, and then I'm also going to take the Jameis Winston interception. You should probably just do this.
That's usually a good one.
Now, this one's weighted a little bit at minus 140, but nonetheless, I can pretty much guarantee you every week he plays, you're probably going to get an interception. So if you play it pretty much every week, you're in good shape. So Jameis Winston interception minus 140 as well. So New Orleans with the plus, and then Jameis Winston INT for me. All right. The game no one is looking forward to. New York Jets versus Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns 5.5 point favorites, and to be honest, I have no action on this game, and I have very little interest in having action in this game, other than you all have decided it's going to be one of our DraftKings top 5 selections.
You guys decided.
No, you gave me a choice between awful and even worse. So
yeah, listen, I'll just put this out there for the record. As I was walking away, Dynamite did say, "Hey, he thinks he likes this one better," but that's neither here nor there. They were both awful picks, so. I do have one play, and now, mind you, I'll let you know right now, it's a bit of a long shot. But there's nothing else I like in this game. I didn't like the individual numbers for Nick Chubb to score an anytime touchdown or for Kareem Hunt to score an anytime touchdown. So what I did is I one game parlayed both of them to have a anytime touchdown, and that actually gave me plus 310. So I felt like, well, okay, that's got some juice. And if this Cleveland team's going to win, I think that they're going to win behind a strong, solid running attack. I don't trust their passing attack so much right now, not at least until they get their main quarterback back. But going up against the Jets team, there's no pushovers. Listen, defensively, I know they're not great, but they did a pretty good job at stopping the run. And we saw last season they had their moments where they played really good, solid defense. Their issue right now is that they can't get anybody to score. So I think that Cleveland's going to try and pound the rock all day long. And we saw last week there was a lot of love for Hunt and there was a lot of love for Chubb. And if that's the case, I could totally see a scenario where they both get a touchdown. Plus 310. I mean, what do you got to lose? $5 on it?
Yeah. I got nothing on this game. I'm curious to see if the Jets can play a little better and a little smarter, because I think everybody knows what you're getting from the Browns, because it's going to be Chubb and Hunt. They're going to try to avoid passing at all cost with Jacoby Brissett back there, which is pretty much what the Browns did last week. They got away with it. I think Amari Cooper had 3 targets total. So they aren't looking to pass the ball. So, I will say the Jets need to come up with a different game plan. If they're going to let Joe Flacco throw 60 times a game on this Cleveland Brown team, they're going to be in for a world of hurt. One, because he's probably going to be sacked, 70 times by this front line. And then two, I think the only true skill position guys the Jets have is a couple running backs. So nonetheless, nothing for me. The number at 5.5, I'm not going to be aggressive taking Jacoby Brissett at 5.5, because if they get behind, I just don't see a way for them to get back in it. And there is zero chance I'm taking the Jets at any number right now that doesn't come in and around 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, you're definitely not taking Cleveland at minus 5.5. When I looked at it, they're at 6.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely not taking that.
Yeah, no way. And like I said, I don't approach the Jets until, week 5 when they start getting the 2 touchdowns. And then I'll start becoming a Jets fan again. All right, one of the best games on the weekend, Miami Dolphins at the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens minus 3.5 here. I will say, looking at this game, something really, really wants me to take this Baltimore Ravens, team at this line. I feel like the Ravens can blow this game out, but I'm not aggressive enough because I'm scared Miami might be able to make 1 or 2 plays. So how did you go about sort of looking at this game and trying to handicap it? Because, I keep coming back and looking at the spread and take Baltimore. Baltimore's a smart play. And, by week 10, you'd be loving Baltimore getting minus 3.5 at home versus Miami team. But, I'm just a little gun shy right now.
Listen, I'm on the exact same boat that you're on. I when I was looking at that line, it's really intriguing. It's really tempting to take Baltimore at minus 3.5. But you look at this Miami team, and they're very quietly good. Okay, and they've done this over the last few seasons where they don't look flashy. You look at their stats and you're like, they're okay. Or they only beat this team because it's this team they're going up against. But this Miami team is been solid, and they've been solid for the last few years. They're just not very flashy, which is why we don't really take them into account. So that's the part that got me, as you said, a little gun shy. It made me kind of fall back from being so gung-ho on taking Baltimore minus 3.5. But there was another play that I did like, just based off the way Miami's defense was playing last week, the way Baltimore's defense was playing last week. I like the under 44.5. I feel like this game can – I know that there's some big play guys, especially on the Miami side of the ball with Waddle and Cheetah. But I feel like Baltimore's defense is good enough to where they know how they're gonna be attacked, and they can at least slow it down. I don't know if they can stop it, but they can slow it down. And they can slow it down enough to where the score is going to be somewhat limited. But I do like some other plays here. I'm going to take the under here at 44.5. But I also have a couple that I want to throw your way, see if you might bite on any of these. Lamar Jackson anytime touchdown at plus 160. He only carried the ball 6 times last week, and I know it's not what we're used to seeing, and he might be a little more conservative this time going up against a pretty good Miami defense. But there's always a chance with him to get out and score a touchdown, so I kind of like that one. I got Jalen Waddle anytime touchdown plus 140. I've got Lamar Jackson to score and the Ravens to win at plus 200. Ravens money line and under 42.5 at plus 240.
Yeah, there were a couple of those that I think are good plays. I really didn't have a ton for this game. The only thing I had was the Tyreek Hill anytime touchdown at plus 160. He didn't find the end zone last week. I think they'll try to look for him to find the end zone this week. And, Baltimore didn't give up much to the Jets, but they did give up a passing touchdown. So, that was my researchical logic that maybe Tyreek gets off because Baltimore gave up a meaningless touchdown with a minute to go for
That's why you get paid the big bucks, buddy.
That's why we spent 8 hours researching our picks this week, and that's what I came up with the Tyreek Hill anytime touchdown. So not much for me. I probably will enjoy watching this game more than I did betting on it, just because I can't quite grab the Ravens. Maybe by Sunday at 12:45, I've had enough time to talk myself into it, but I just couldn't quite do it.
I know it sounds crazy, but if it was just a 1 point difference, if it was a Baltimore minus 2.5, I'd feel more comfortable taking that than I would 3.5. And I know it sounds crazy, just 1 point difference, but it's just I think these teams are actually a lot closer than we actually believe they are.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's that hook probably is what just scares me off enough. All right, this one should be a fun one to talk about because everybody, I must say, is on the Lions. So Washington Commanders go to the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions are 2.5-point favorites. And I must say, I am one of those on the Lions. The Lions are a little less. I will say I got them at 1.5. So, even then, I'm still, I guess, giving in to this sort of media propaganda here and believing that the Lions can win this game. So, you tell me how the Lions are going to win this game and why anyone should, I don't know, in the 70-year history of the Lions, be taking the Lions as favorites at any point in time.
Listen, okay, I'm going to blame HBO for this one, all right? Now, unless somehow down the line we get HBO as a sponsor, then I love HBO and I love Hard Knocks. But I'm going to blame HBO on this. Every year I watch Hard Knocks, and there's something about the team that's featured that I always end up liking. And this year, the Lions, they I don't know, man, something about the Lions, a team that's been so bad for so long, and you just see them struggling to try and get to a good spot, and it feels like this might be it, like they might be turning the page, and nope, they're just as bad as they were last year. But this year feels a little bit different, and I don't know what it is. I can't put it into words for you, okay? Now, I sent wifey a text message earlier today, some stat I heard on the radio on my way home. I'm trying to find it here real quick. Oh, this is the first time in 24 games that the Lions have been favored. Now, I got them at minus 1.5, and I like Detroit at minus 1.5. But what I ended up doing was I actually ended up taking an alternate spread. I took the Lions minus 2.5, which gave me a plus 100. And if that wasn't enough, I parlayed that with a Hawkinson anytime touchdown, which had another 155 for plus 320 total. Now, I know that, you'd probably want to play those straight if I were you, but I like to throw a little extra risk in the game here. So I can't give you my reasons for why I think the Lions are going to win other than I think that they're far better than this Washington Commander team. Now, I know Washington won, but I really don't think that they're that good. I think it was just a fluke of week one. So I'm just going to ride the Lions in this one at minus 2.5 alternate line, plus 100. And I'm also going to take the Hawkinson anytime touchdown for a 155.
Yeah, I got a couple plays here in this one. You mentioned it. I'm going to ride the Lions here. Detroit Lions -1.5. I get 250 on that one. I got a fun little combo package here. I got Carson Wentz over 1.5 touchdowns. From what I saw from that Detroit Lions defense and the way Washington came out and threw the ball in that game last week versus Jacksonville, probably sort of similar defenses. Aggressive, can sort of get to the pass rush, but also can be hit. So Wentz over 1.5 touchdowns at -120. But as with Jameis Winston, Carson giveth, Carson taketh away. So I have Carson Wentz with the interception as well. So we got Carson over 1.5 touchdown passes, but we also have the interception to sort of protect ourselves, and probably also going to hit that nice little combo package because, 2 for 2, 2 for 1. I think he had 4 and 2 last week. You're pretty much going to run the gamut here in that one. So Lions for me, -1.5. Wentz over 1.5 touchdown passes. And Wentz with the INT for me. All right, let's move to the AFC South. Indianapolis Colts at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars, I thought, played a pretty good game versus those Washington Commanders. Probably should have won it. Dropped a couple touchdowns, didn't make, the crucial plays that win games, and Washington hit basically a 60-yard field goal to win the game. So Colts go there, didn't look good versus the Texans. This is a rematch of that Week 18 game where the Colts just had to win to get in the playoffs. They did not. What are you looking at here as the Jags were 4.5-point favorites, or underdogs?
I actually got the line at 3.5, and I have to say that, out of two teams that I was kind of hoping for a good start for last week, both of these teams disappointed in my opinion. Both of them could have won the game. I think both of them should have won the game, but that's neither here nor there. For this week, them going up against each other, I actually like Indy at -3.5. That hook scares me a little bit, but I think that Indy's running attack can do enough to keep him out of reach and maybe get like a 2 field goal or a couple touchdown field goal win. So I'm just taking Indy at -3.5 here, but there's a couple other plays that I do like. I do like Hines anytime touchdown at +180. He looked very explosive last game. I know that the numbers aren't amazing, but he looked explosive, and I like some of the plays that I saw from him. And I also like the Christian Kirk anytime TDs. That's something I never thought I would say. But I like the Kirk anytime TD at +155. He had 12 targets last week. Now, I know a lot of that had to do with the fact that they were in a very competitive game, so they had to throw the ball a lot. But I think this is going to be what we expect from Jacksonville. It's going to be them being either close or getting blown out. And either way, you're going to have to throw the ball. So just as many times as he got targeted, it feels like there's good chemistry between him and the quarterback. So plus 155 anytime TD for Kirk. I think that's a pretty good value.
Yeah, I got a couple Christian Kirk ones in my props section. I got a couple bets on this one. Matt Ryan interception with the pass rush that the Jags showed last week. Matt's sort of statuesque back there. I think the Jags can pressure him into a throw that gets a pick, much like the Jags did a couple times with Carson Wentz. So I like that. That's also at +120 for the Matt Ryan interception. So I really like that one. Then I got two others. Anytime touchdown, Trevor Lawrence. I do think it's good to keep playing that one. I know it didn't hit last week, but his big body, you saw it. He made a run on the goal line. It was maybe first from the 8, and he made that run, and he got out at about the 2. He's a big body who can move. So I think you keep playing that, and as long as it's sitting in the 5-6 to 1, you'll probably hit that one of these weeks, and you'll probably hit it more than once. So that would be good value. And then I just got a long shot. Trevor Lawrence, first touchdown score is at 30 to 1. So Trevor Lawrence, anytime touchdown at 550. Trevor Lawrence, first touchdown score at 30 to 1. So maybe you can grab that one. I think Lawrence is going to get a couple rushing TDs here. So I think as long as they sit in the 5-6, to 1 range, keep playing those. And Ryan on the interception. Nothing on the game. I'm a little scared what we're going to get from the Jags is similar to what we got, where they probably should have covered, but they didn't cover, and I didn't want to do that again this week. If I was going to take something, it would definitely be the points, because it just seems like the Colts do this every year where, they start out slow and we're, in game 5, 6, and they're, 2-5, they're 3-6, and we're like, the Colts, and then they go on this run. So, they started slow again in that Houston game, and so I'm not really going to be aggressive on that till I see them put together a couple good games. All right, let's go to your boys out west. The Los Angeles Rams are playing the Atlanta Falcons, and I must say, this line highly disturbed me. 10.5 points for the Los Angeles Rams. I don't know how you watch that game on Thursday night and go, who we're making a double-digit point favorite? The Rams. So, I just was stunned it was this high. Now, you make it 7, I'm probably not going to blink an eye with the Falcons going on the road. But to start pulling out the double-digit, for God's sakes, Buffalo isn't even a double-digit point favorite this week. So, what'd you make of this line?
I probably should have jumped on lines early like I normally do, because I got a late start this weekend. I actually got Buffalo at a double-digit favorite here. But let's talk about the Rams in Atlanta here. We talked about it a little bit when we were doing some other stuff, and I mentioned how I'm not touching this spread whatsoever. For one, the Rams looked horrible last week. The offensive line looks like it's a shambles. They couldn't run the ball. But they had a little bit of success when they were able to get the run. It's just they couldn't implement it enough because they were getting smashed around by the Bills. Atlanta, on the other hand, they were in a tough one also with New Orleans, and they looked to have basically left to start off where they left off last season, which is them being kind of spunky and being in games. Cordero Patterson kind of being, a Swiss Army knife, so to speak, and that's pretty much where they sit now. I wouldn't be shocked if the Rams completely blow this game out of the water. I really wouldn't, and I also wouldn't be shocked if this is a one-score game. It's just there's not enough from either team here to really set like a solid foundation about what type of team we're going to get, or what type of game we're going to get from these teams. So I don't have a play in this game. The only one that I found that was somewhat interesting, if that's a big if, the Rams happen to follow the same game plan they did last week, which is run Hendo and keep Akers on the bench. Darrell Henderson, anytime touchdown, plus 105. And again, that's just solely based off the fact that he was utilized more than Cam Akers was.
Yeah. I got a whole heap of plays this week. So I got Falcons. I'm going to take the Falcons plus that 10.5, versus the Rams for 125. I'm also going to ride the Falcons money line at plus 400. I think there's a lot of value there in that one. 4-1 in an NFL game. There has to be a dramatic sort of width between the two teams. Then I mentioned these head-to-heads. This one really stunned me because Cordell Patterson versus Darrell Henderson rush yards wise, Cordell's getting plus 170. I know who the Falcons running back is. As weird as it might sound, I know who's getting the carries. You saw it again last week. I don't know what the Rams. They gave Henderson carries, and then McVay comes out the next week and says Akers is going to have his opportunities. So what the hell does that mean?
There I go. I'm trying to give you your spotlight here, and I forget to unmute. But I was saying that I read that same article while I was having breakfast this morning, and I was stunned that McVay came out and said that he wants Cam Akers to try and take advantage of his opportunity. I'm like, what opportunity? And what's going to happen from now on? Are we going to get the Shanahan type of ordeal, or we don't know who the starting running back is? I agree with you. I think that, what was it, plus what?
Plus 170. It's almost 2-1 that Darrell Henderson will outrush Cordell Patterson. And I don't think that's, you go since Cordell has taken over that running back spot last year, my guess is Cordell has outrushed Darrell probably every week or in and
Listen.
around every week.
Listen, just based off expectations, we expect this game to obviously be in the Rams side. We think the Rams are going to win this game, just if we're just going off paper. You know, if that's the case, then you would assume that McVay, who very publicly came out and said that he wants Akers to do more, would probably try and push Akers, give him more carries, give him more of a workload this week. And if that's the case, it just leaves less yards for Henderson.
Yeah.
So I
the other thing, I was like, okay, so are we splitting 8 and 8 here? Because, Henderson got, I think, 12 last week. So bump it up to 16 because the game's not as much of a blowout, and 8 and 8 with, somebody else getting 1 or 2 more. I just, if you're going to give me head-to-heads with somebody who I know is going to get 15 to 20 carries versus somebody who could get 4, could get 15. I'm just like, okay.
I mean, not to mention the fact that, that Henderson is basically just a running back. Now, I know he catches the ball pretty good out of the backfield, but, Cordell, we've got a Swiss Army knife where he's utilized so many different ways. And not just that, he's also a gimmick, but you can use him in gimmicks, trick plays and all that stuff. So he has definitely more of a shot to definitely beat out Henderson in rushing yards. And if you're getting plus on that, I don't see – I didn't even know about that. I'm going to have to look it up after we get done with the show.
Yeah. Allen Robinson under 51.5 receiving yards. I was stunned that was still in the 50s. The man had 2 targets last week.
But it wasn't because he wasn't open. He was open. He just did, the line wasn't given any time.
Yeah, I just to go from 2 targets to 50 yards in 1 week, I want a little show me. So under 51.5 for Allen Robinson. I'm going to take the Matthew Stafford interception just because he seemed to throw a lot of them last week. I don't know if that's turning around. And even at his best, it's one of those where it's usually 1 a week no matter what. So Stafford anytime touchdown, that's even money too, plus 100. So hey, go for it. Pitts, anytime touchdown, plus 210. And then Marcus Mariota, anytime touchdown, plus 240. You saw the Rams give up a rushing touchdown to a quarterback last week. Same sort of thing here for Mariota. So I'm loaded up on the Falcons-Rams here. Keep giving me double.
You mean you're loaded up on the Falcons?
Yes, I'm loaded up on the game, but yes, on the Falcons. So let's move on to the Seahawks and the 49ers. Once again, I don't really have much on this game because I don't know what to take away from that San Francisco 49ers-Bears game. They were playing in a monsoon on a field that was basically underwater. So, what do I gauge from that? They were dominating the game for 3/4 of it. 2 plays got hit, and then it really started raining even more. So, and then you go to the Seahawks. Emotional game on Monday night. Can they bring that same emotion on the road versus I'd say a better defensive team than the Denver Broncos? Can Geno remain consistent and, just keep moving the chains? So, yeah, it's 9.5, which I wasn't going to touch with the Niners because that one seemed even more ridiculous than the Rams 10.5. You're going to tell me you're going to make Trey Lance a 9.5 point favorite, but I don't think I'm quite bullish enough to really grab these Seahawks, especially now that Adams, who was looking to finally find his sort of role with the Seahawks, now done for the year, so they sort of have to rejigger that whole defense that they were, they were playing 3 safeties. They set up a defense where they could play 3 safeties, and Adams could sort of just be wherever he wants to be. Now they have to go back to a sort of 2 high safety look. So I think that might affect their defense a little bit. So I just couldn't grab the Seahawks at the 9.5, but there was no way I was touching Niners minus 9.5 either. What are you looking for in this game?
Yeah, listen, I'm kind of looking to see how Trey Lance looks in a situation where he's not playing in a monsoon and still without Kittle, because I believe Kittle's not playing in this game. And before the Adams news, I'll be honest with you, I was really tempted to take the Seahawks at plus 9.5. I just didn't see enough from the 49ers last week. Now, I know that they're a much better team on paper, but I feel like I didn't see enough from them last week to call for for me taking them. But with the Adams news and no Kittle, I don't feel comfortable taking either one of these plays here. This was more if you're like a Seattle Seahawks fan and you just want some extra juice to watch the game. You could take that Seattle plus 9.5, the over at 40.5 plus 300. If you're really bold and you want to just take a straight up bet, Seattle money line at plus 325. Now, historically speaking, both of these teams play each other really, really tough. Even if one's doing really bad and the other one's really good, they tend to play each other pretty well, being in the same division, knowing each other so well. And like I said, two of the stars for both teams won't be in this game. So how that impacts the game, I don't know as of yet. But me personally, I'm a no play on this. I'm going to wait this out and try to see what I can get from both these teams, whether we can get consistency from Geno Smith, whether the rushing attack with Penny is really going to work out, how that defense is going to look without Adams, how the 49ers offense looks without Kittle, because I'm assuming he's not going to play. And is Trey Lance the real deal? Because the last game, it's really hard for me to judge him off of that. I really can't put a barometer on him based off that. So I'm just going to watch this game and try to see where they stand.
Yeah, me too. I got nothing on this game. We'll move to the next one. Another line that just jumped out at me at wow, this is really aggressive for a team that we just saw lost to the said Seahawks team that is a 9.5-point dog. So Houston goes to Denver and is 9.5-point dogs here after tying the Colts, who we all think is going to be one of the top teams in the AFC. So why would anybody really be aggressive on taking Denver here at minus 9.5?
I've got a couple of plays for this game. Now I don't have too much, so I'm not going to hold you up here. I am on the same boat as you. I'm really high on Denver, but just the way they looked last week, really off-putting. So here are my plays for this one. Now I'm not very bullish on this, so I'm not going to recommend anyone take this. I'm just going to tell you what I liked. I like the Houston plus 10. Okay. Yeah. I think that getting 10 points based off the way they looked against this Colts team. I feel like they can do enough to stay within range to cover. The other two that I like Javonte Williams over 23.5 rush receiving yards at minus 110. I know that you go into the negative here, but he had the most targets for that team last week at 12. Seems like they're going to be dumping off a lot, especially with when you can get pressure on the quarterback, it's going to be dump offs. That's Russell Wilson's game there. And if you parlay the Williams with an anytime touchdown, the over 20 receiving yards, you get plus 160 on that. So there's some value in that. Again, not crazy on any of these, but just some stuff that you might want to take if you're considering watching this game.
Yeah, I got one play in this one. It's another one of those head-to-head. Melvin Gordon is minus 105 for more rushing yards than Ezekiel Elliott. I don't know if anybody watched the Cowboys' offensive line last week, but it was atrocious. It's not going to improve with Cooper Rush back there. I can pretty much guarantee you the Cincinnati Bengals are going to have every member of their defense sitting along that defensive line. So he's not going to find more holes now that backup quarterback who was on the practice squad 2 years ago is taking snaps. And if you look at the breakdown last week, Gordon still ended up with more carries versus Seattle. So I know it's a split share, but I think you can eat that up. And one of the bright shining lights, if you could say that, was Taylor had like 32 carries for 150 yards. So I think there are plenty of yards for this Broncos team to get versus the Houston Texans. You factor that in with the line that they think it's going to be a blowout. So if this game's a blowout, then it's going to be Williams and Gordon carrying the ball that second half. So Gordon even money head-to-head versus Zeke in rushing yards. I'll take that all day long. All right, let's move to the next one. Arizona Cardinals versus the Oakland Raiders. This is an interesting line here because earlier in the week I was pretty bullish on the Raiders, but I've started to pull back more and more as the week's gone on. I just think this number sits a little bit too high for me. I just don't trust the Raiders defense enough to not give up, cheap touchdowns, even if they get up, versus Cardinals team who's, I think, judging from last week, a really, really bad team. But if anybody watched that Arizona Cardinals defense, the Raiders are going to score points here. So I didn't quite know how to handicap this thing. What's your feeling on it?
Yeah, I'm on the same boat as you. I actually don't have a play in this game. For a while there, I was like, I could definitely see the Raiders win this game by 7, especially based off how Arizona played last week. But there's also little flaws within Las Vegas's team that just gives me pause, a little cause for concern. I'm a little tempted to take the over here at 51.5, but again, I'm not sold on any of it, and I think I'm going to be a no play for this one.
Yeah, I don't know. We got in this, argument about our DraftKings picks, and we put the Raiders down. And I was like, I'm telling you exactly what's going to happen. Raiders are going to dominate this game. And then, last 5 minutes, Cardinals are going to just go down and get 2 cheapy touchdowns and cover this spread. And the Raiders, aren't going to care. And it's just one of those things where I can already see it happening. So I'm not going to wager my money on it, but I got a couple here. Renfro, anytime touchdown, plus 900. If you watched the game last week, they went to Renfro down there a handful of times, in the red zone. So I still think they're going to use him, even though, Adams is the main guy. And then I got 2 plays that are for like the whole league. So Kyler Murray, most passing yards on NFL Sunday, is 18-1. Derek Carr, most passing yards on NFL Sunday, 10-1. If you look at these 2 teams' secondaries, both these quarterbacks are going to rack up a ton of yards, and then you sort of got the extra bonus here. This is for NFL Sunday, so the Monday games don't count to this. So Buffalo is
and we got a doubleheader.
Yeah. Buffalo is out, Minnesota's out, Philadelphia's out. Basically, you're looking at the 3 teams that could sort of contend for this. So I think it's a pretty smart play to take both these guys with 2 secondaries who have looked very, very poor. This game's going to be high scoring. It's, one of the highest scoring totals on the board. So 18-1 for Murray, most passing yards, 10-1 for Carr, most passing yards. I think that's really good value considering it's just on that Sunday. So you aren't getting Bills, Vikings, Eagles, and you aren't getting Chargers or Chiefs either because they played on Thursday. So basically the 5 to 6 quarterbacks that you really think would be in the mix here are out because they played not on NFL Sunday. So I really like both those. Murray 18-1, Carr 10-1 in this game. So those are my plays for that one. Let's go to Bengals Cowboys. Bengals 7.5 point favorites coming off the loss here. Of course, no Dak. I will say this still seems a little high for me. Because you watched that Dallas game, and the one thing that did come to play was that defense. The pass rush was there. They still got a handful of turnovers. And judging from what Cincinnati showed me in that game versus Pittsburgh, if there's a pass rush coming at them, mistakes are going to be made by the Bengals. And if there's 1 or 2 turnovers, that can keep this Dallas team in there. I'm not bold enough to grab that 7.5, but I didn't want to touch 7.5 points on the Bengals, especially with that hook sitting there. I want to see a clean game from Joe Burrow in Cincinnati before I'm real aggressive as touchdown favorites on the road here.
I agree with you. I do like Cincinnati to win this game, especially after the injury to the quarterback, Dak Prescott. But I'm not sold just based off. I know we've mentioned last week that they have a new offensive line. They brought in a bunch of guys. They paid a lot of money to fix the offensive line woes, and it didn't seem to pay off week 1. Now, granted, it was just week 1, and it was against a pretty talented division rival in Pittsburgh. Their front seven's pretty stout, especially when they know each other pretty well. So I'm not going to hold that against them completely, but I will say that 7.5 scares me. There's no way I'm taking that 7.5. I'm a no play on this, but I did find the Cincinnati alternate line at 6.5, which is a little bit, it gives you a little bit of room at minus 145. So it's not too bad. if you're a Bengals fan and you're going to watch this game, you want to root for your team, maybe you take the alternate line and hope they win by a touchdown, which is definitely possible. Because I mean, other than the offensive line, I think this Cincinnati team looked pretty good.
Yeah.
They just happened to run into a pretty hot and pumped up Pittsburgh team that week, but I still think Cincinnati wins here. And if you do want to make a play on it, don't take the 7.5. I think that hook might come back and haunt you. 6.5 though, -145. You're not losing too much juice there.
Yeah. I got a couple plays. Joe Mixon over 17.5 carries, -120. If this game's a blowout, and even then, Mixon hit that over even last week. So, and he hit it pretty good. So I think the days of giving Pirine, 8 to 10 carries, probably over. I think they're just going to utilize Joe Mixon. So that over 17.5, -120. I'm going to stick with the Joe Burrow interception here. I do think they can pressure him. And, we saw crazy throws, and this Cowboys team is opportunistic like that. So I like that interception, Joe Burrow, -110. With that Cowboys defense touchdown, +740. You saw 6 turnovers last week with the Bengals. You got a touchdown from the Steelers at 740. I think basically, that Cowboys defense is going to be aggressive because they're going to assume they're going to score 0 points on the offensive side of the ball, which is probably a pretty safe bet considering they scored 0 on the offensive side of the ball last week. And it's not going to improve with Cooper Rush, dealing with your quarterbacks here. And then to go with those most of bets on NFL Sunday, Joe Mixon, most rushing yards, 13-1. So I like that one. If this game's a blowout, look for Joe to sort of get loose. You saw Leonard Fournette go really, really hard on him. I think the Cowboys still struggle to stop the run here, so they might utilize that more than you think in this game. It'll also keep pressure off Burrow a little bit. So Mixon, most rushing yards on NFL Sunday, 13-1 for me in that one. All right, 2 Sunday night, Chicago Bears, Green Bay Packers, -9.5. From what you saw from the Packers, are you bold enough to grab that 9.5, or are you going to take the points here in Chicago, or just pretend this game doesn't happen on Sunday night?
I might be calling it an early night Sunday. I have no play in this one. I have no interest in taking anything with the Packers, and it's not because of Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers is still one of the better quarterbacks, but I mean, the way they were just dropping easy passes left and right, the offensive scheme I didn't understand. I thought that they probably could have used Jones a lot more than they utilized him. I feel like that probably would have been a big difference in that game. So I'm not going to take anything. Chicago beat San Francisco last week. I think was a little fluky. I still give them respect for pulling off the win, but I don't. I think if those two teams play 10 times, I think San Francisco wins 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to jump on any of these here. I really have no play for this game.
There's a couple things I liked here. The Bears-Packers total was 41.5. Even if you tell me the Packers offense is going to be good, I'd cap it out at probably 24 points. That seems generous. So you're telling me the Bears are going to approach 20 versus this Packers defense? I don't think so. I think 41 is really, really high. I don't think people have adjusted to what this Packers team is going to be. It's going to be a ground and pound, eat the clock team where their defense just, lays waste to them. And they aren't going to, it might be 1 or 2 big passes in the game that Aaron Rodgers makes a throw for off play action of, Aaron Jones and stuff. So 41.5 just seemed like an awful lot for me. I bet this drops by NFL Sunday, so I'd grab it early right now while it's still in the 40s. So, I mean, I think I'd be good taking it up to about 38 points because I don't really see how the Bears get over 10, and I'm not really sure that the Packers are capable of scoring more than 24 to 26 points, even if they're playing really, really well on offense. Head-to-head rushing yards, A.J. Dillon versus David Montgomery. I just think Montgomery's going to be in some trouble here because that Packers front line, you saw them keep Cook in check with this Bears offensive line. I don't see how Montgomery gets going. And Dillon and Jones had a pretty decent split of carries, and I think the Packers will be up most of this game, so we'll get a lot more carries than we did the week before. So minus 145, A.J. Dillon over David Montgomery head-to-head. And then I got a couple touchdown props with Robert Tonyan. Anytime touchdown, plus 180. First touchdown, plus 950. If you watch that game, the 3 or 4 times that the Packers got on that goal line situation, Rodgers was forcing the ball into Tonyan 2 to 3 times each time. So I look for that to continue. It seems like he's the one he trusts on that goal line. So I'd look for Tonyan to get a handful of more shots down there in the red zone. So Tonyan plus 180 anytime touchdown, 950 first touchdown for me. Okay, to Monday night, a Monday double up. I appreciate them not doing one last week and then doing one this week. Always fun. 3 more of these to go, by the way, during the year. But first up, Tennessee Titans, Buffalo Bills. Buffalo minus the 9.5. Now, Dynamite David is all about history and how the Titans have owned the Bills in history. Are we writing that history and taking the Tennessee Titans over the Buffalo Bills here?
Listen, Dynamite might be the master at picking college games, but I don't trust his judgment when it comes to talking Titans football. He's a little biased, okay? So I'm actually not now. When I looked at the line, it was actually Buffalo minus 10, which surprised me that it shifted that much. But I don't like the spread. I do think this might shock some people, but I do think I like the under in this one at 47.5, and it's mostly because of that Buffalo defense. That Buffalo defense is stout. I'm talking about they can stop the run, they can get after the receivers, they keep tight coverage on the receivers, and they get after the quarterback. We saw Von Miller constantly harass Matthew Stafford in the backfield, and now you look at this Titans team. They've had issues with the offensive line, they've had issues with their secondary. Some of them seem to have at least been remedied a little bit, but I don't think they can keep up with Buffalo. Now, I do think Buffalo can win this game. I do think they can dominate. I wouldn't be shocked if they did, but a double-digit spread I can't take. And Buffalo is really good, but this Tennessee team has been consistently good for the last few years, and I know that they don't seem like themselves so far, 1 week into the season, but I just can't do it. Minus 10, I can't do it. I'm going to take the under here at 47.5.
Yeah, I got a couple plays on this game, and I'm going to break a couple rules here. You know I don't go after these big spreads very often, but, every now and then these teams pop up. There are a handful of, Indianapolis Colts teams with Peyton Manning, a couple of your Rams teams, that Patriots team with Randy Moss, the Vikings team with Randy Moss. I probably should just say any team with a prime Randy Moss. We're able to just lay waste to teams and just annihilate them week in and week out. And, I look at this Buffalo team, and you're talking 5 receivers who are legit good receivers. Crowder, McKenzie, Gabriel, Diggs doesn't need to be said. You got Dawson Knox as a tight end. You got 3 running backs, all who can sort of run the ball, catch the ball. The line looked all right, which would be the only sort of half question. And then you add in that Josh Allen can launch
He's
the
a
ball.
monster.
Yeah, launch the ball 70 yards down the field, but also can then, run a read option play and gain 20 yards that way. The defense, I just think these Bills teams are going to be one of those teams that just goes through the season, and basically every game they win is going to be, by at least 2, 3 touchdowns. So I'm just going to take a guess here early that the Bills are one of these teams, and as long as they're under, about a 13-point mark, I'm just going to grab onto the Bills. So I got the Bills at -9.5, 250 on that. I'm just going to ride it, see where it goes. And then anytime touchdown, Jamison Crowder plus 360. I just thought he looked real good when they put him in the slot playing against those zone defenses. I look for the Titans to sort of drop their too high safety look, and maybe Crowder sits into one of those zones and gets a cheap touchdown. Now, it's always going to be hard predicting other than Diggs, who's going to get those touchdowns because Gabriel's a great target. You got McKenzie on that quick little inside slant route right on the end zone. You got Knox, who's a huge target. And then you got Crowder, who's real smart with his route running. So, you're pretty much taking a grab. It can be any of them, and it could also be a dump, and it could also be a Josh Allen run. So, but I thought 360 was pretty good value here with Crowder anytime touchdown. So, Bills for me -9.5, Crowder plus 360 for me.
I'll tell you what. If I would have got that line at -9.5, I probably would have been a little more, apt to actually taking Buffalo here. But I think 10. You're talking about having to win by at least 11 points at that point. And I mean, not that I don't think they would do it. Not that I don't think they can't do it. I think more than likely they'll probably cover. But I just couldn't pull the trigger.
Yeah, I would say also it's probably, for the coming weeks, it's probably best to get the Buffalo lines as early as you can. I think Sunday, once a bunch of normies come in and start betting this, everybody's just going to be, oh, Buffalo, oh, Buffalo, oh, Buffalo. And they're just going to keep pushing it higher and higher and higher from what it opened at. But, all right, let's go to the other Monday Night Football game, another one that should be really, really good. Minnesota Vikings, Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles come in as a slight favorite at 2.5. Are you buying the Viking hype and riding the Vikings to go into Philadelphia and win on Monday night? Or are you going to ride your Eagles here and see this thing through?
Listen, I'm gonna pull Minnesota Vikings Jekyll and Hyde move here and switch it up on you. Okay, I'm not a big Minnesota fan. I think that they've been so up and down over the last few seasons, especially under Kirk Cousins, that I'm always very timid to take them, especially when they're favorites. But I'm looking at this when they're getting 2 points. They're going up against a tough Philadelphia team, a team that I really like, especially going into the preseason. I was really big on Philadelphia, but I did see a lot of holes in that defense last week versus Detroit. And I think Minnesota's got so many weapons offensively. I know you're not 100% agreeing with me on this one, but I like Minnesota money line here at +110. I think that they can pull off the upset win. Now, it's not much of an upset because you're talking about the Eagles at home and they're only getting 2 points. But I think Minnesota's just got too many different ways of attacking you. And this is probably their best chance at being able to take over this division with the Packers being in disarray like they are with the wide receiver position. Chicago is Chicago. And, I feel like this is their best shot. So I like the weapons that they have. I like the way they looked last week. Even though the running attack wasn't that great, they were still somewhat productive. So I'm taking Minnesota money line +110.
Yeah, I'm going to ride the Eagles here and that -2. I'm not falling for the Minnesota Vikings magical act here of, wow, they beat the Packers and they look great. So I'm going to ride the Eagles at home here, getting a win on Monday night. And I do look for this to be a shootout. So, I think both teams are going to score a whole lot of points and a whole lot of yards here. I think Philadelphia can control it with their run game, though. If you looked at that Packers game, they were able to run the ball on them. They just got behind so much they started having to pass. So I think the Eagles with Hurts and Sanders and, a handful of the other guys be able to run the ball on them, control this game, and then hit them, with A.J. Brown, with Devontae Smith, with Dallas Goedert, and win this game. So I like the Eagles -2, 250 on that one. A.J. Brown, anytime touchdown, +155. I like that one. I got a fun one. Jalen Reagor on the comeback game. He's +550 for anytime touchdown. I think if Minnesota gets down there, they might do the little spite move and try to throw him a touchdown. I'm not saying he's getting 20 opportunities. It might be one opportunity. He just has to seize it. But +550, I thought was,
make it count.
Yeah, pretty good value. And then A.J. Brown, first touchdown, +11 to 1.
That's good value for as much as he got targeted last week. He seemed to be, his favorite target. So he's a big body guy, obviously a big playmaker. So I think that's pretty good value for given the type of player he is.
Yeah, one more. I didn't quite know where to put this in my parlays or in my random, but I think it was just on DraftKings, so it was some DK special. Jefferson and Brown combined for 300 plus yards and 2+ touchdowns, 16-1.
Wow.
I just, they kind of did that last week. So, and both teams did not exactly look awesome defensively. So I think that at least has a 16-1 shot. You could tell me they could combine for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, once every 16 games, because it already happened once last week. So I kind of like that. I thought that was pretty good value, especially in a game where we don't think there's going to be very much defense. I didn't quite know whether to put it in my parlays or not, but Jefferson Brown, 300 plus yards, 2+ touchdowns, 16-1 for me on that one.
I had a quick question. I'm looking at my notes here. I forgot to put down the over/under on this.
Let me see what that over/under total was. It's at 50.5. So
Wow, really?
yeah.
I like the over on that one.
Yeah, I think that's a little low considering from what we saw.
I thought you were going to say like 56.5 or something.
I think they're judging off that Packers game where they only let them 3, but they aren't factoring in, Watson drops that touchdown. They have a goal line stand on the 1, then it's 21, and the Packers, were driving down there for a score too, right down there in the second half. So I think they overrated the Minnesota defense a little bit just because the Packers, screwed up a couple plays there. So, yeah, 50.5, not a bad line there.
I'd have to make a play on that one.
All right, I got a whole list of parlays. As always, let's start out with my teasers. I'm going at 10-point 3-team tease on this one. We're going under Patriots Steelers. The tease makes it 50.5. Under Bears Packers, the under makes it 51.5. And under Jets Cleveland, the under makes that 49.5. And that tease is -143. Another 10.3 team teaser at -143. We're going Bengals Cowboys over 31.5. Vikings Eagles over 40.5. Lions Commanders over 38.5. I really like that teaser. You got 2 sitting right in that 30 range of 2 games I know are going to be high scoring. And then that Vikings Eagles, if that can get over that 40.5. I like that one. So 10.3 team teaser, -143. Bengals Cowboys over 31.5. Vikings Eagles over 40.5. Lions Commanders over 38.5. A 7.3 team tease. Colts +4, Eagles +4.5, Steelers +9.5 on that one. That one's +120. Really like that one as well. And one last 7.3 team tease. We're going to put the Browns down to a pick'em. Oakland +1.5, Bengals a pick'em. So +120 on that. I think you're pretty good there. The only one I worry about a little bit is the Cleveland Browns, because you never know quite what you're going to get from that one. All right, I got one money line parlay, Packers, Bills, Broncos. 3-team money line parlay, Packers, Bills, Broncos. That pays +170 on that one. So I thought that was pretty good value money line wise. And then I got your underdog money line special, Atlanta Falcons, Jacksonville Jaguars. 2-team parlay, 11-1 on that one. So underdog parlay of the week, Atlanta Falcons, Jacksonville Jaguars, 11-1. All right, next up, I think we had a little too much fun with the head-to-head stats this week, but we made a handful of parlays with the head-to-heads. Drake London over Allen Robinson, and Jerry Jeudy over Brandon Cooks for receiving yards. That equals +300 on a 2-team parlay in that one. 3-leg parlay with head-to-heads. Christian Kirk over DK Metcalf, Devontae Adams over Cooper Kupp, and Jerry Jeudy over Michael Thomas in that one. 3-team parlay on that one makes it plus 600 in the head-to-head matchup. I got a 2-leg carries parlay here. Bryce Hall under 7.5 carries. James Conner under 13.5 carries. That 2-leg parlay is plus 218. And then I got a couple fun same game parlays. Tony Pollard over 17.5 yards receiving, and Tony Pollard over 2.5 receptions. Anyone checking in, Cooper Rush is going to be checking down the ball a whole lot. And quite honestly, you probably should just put a lot on the over Tony Pollard receptions 2.5, because I guarantee he's getting dumped the ball a whole lot. But I think he gets over that 17.5, so that's plus 255. I put 125 on that parlay for that one. And then we're going to go back to the well with Travis Etienne. They targeted him a bunch. He dropped 2 touchdowns last week. I think he bounces back this week. Over 2.5 receptions, over 20.5 yards. 2-leg same-game parlay there, pays 278. All right, 2-leg parlay on yardage. Chris Olave, under 37.5. You mentioned it a little bit. Jarvis Landry was the one targeted. Then Michael Thomas. Olave was only targeted 3 times. So I'm going to ride that under until his targets go up. So under Chris Olave, under 37.5. Pickens, sort of the same thing. He was not targeted that much other than a couple end zone throws. So under 30.5, 2-leg parlay on receiving yards there, plus 230. Another receiving yard. We're going over on this one. Christian Kirk over 58.5. DJ Moore over 58.5. That 2-leg parlay pays plus 249. Almost there. 3 more parlays to go. 4-leg rushing quarterback parlay. You're going to like this one. Mitch Trubisky over 13.5 yards. Daniel Jones over 23.5 yards. Trey Lance over 42.5 yards. Jalen Hurts over 49.5 yards. 4-leg quarterback rush parlay pays plus 1125. So 11-1 on that 4-leg parlay. Trubisky, Jones, Lance, Hurts all over their rushing totals for the week. Like that one there. Back to the head-to-head. Trevor Lawrence, minus 110 passing yards over Aaron Rodgers. Kyler Murray, passing yards over Tua Tagovailoa. That 2-leg parlay, plus 270. And my last one, passing yard parlay on the over side of things. Baker Mayfield over 216. Mariota over 221.5. Kyler Murray over 255. That parlay pays plus 525. So loaded up on the parlays on the week. Be sure to get in on them. Missed a handful last week, but I like a handful of these. Any other things for you on the NFL Sunday in week 2?
No, man. I mean, I pretty much. I'm just looking forward to watching some football. I know we got college today, but I'm looking forward to some NFL.
All right. Be sure to tune in to the Greenlight Network channel. Like and subscribe. Watch all our content so you don't miss any of our college and NFL games, picks, predictions, recaps, and analysis. That's our show, and we're out.